a lot of people are like, oh my word, follow something that you enjoy and do this. Honestly, I feel people that say that are very, very well off and they have found their joy along the path.
Guys, welcome to the Levelin Up podcast with Brigham Blackham. I've got my good buddy, John Rampton. He is owner of calendar.com and he is an angel investor in so many different ways, absolutely crushing it in real estate, crushing it in business, a phenomenal blogger. He's been a writer for Entrepreneur Magazine, you said Forbes, lots of others as well. But today we're going to have a great conversation talking a little bit about how we can master our time, master our energy. And who better than the owner of calendar.com to know how to focus in our energy and make sure that we're getting the very best out of it. So, John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Like it's a good day. You guys can probably see it's a nice sunny day outside. It's
Yeah,
beautiful. It's a good day.
it's a great day. Great day. The only thing that would make it better is if we had pickleball paddles in our hands and we could do this from the court.
I'm
Oh,
just joking.
shoot,
I
it's right
don't.
there. I've got mine right over here in front of me.
Okay.
But anyway, I would first like to start when you think about mastering your energy. It comes from this idea. I heard this first from my friend Greg Kimball. The only thing that gives time any value is the energy put into it. This idea that if you had 12 hours you wanted to give your wife, you're like, hey, honey, do you want 12 hours, but I'm going to be on my phone the whole time? Or would you like 1 or 2 hours with no distractions, fully focused in on you? Which do you think she would choose, John?
She probably choose 12 hours without me on her phone.
Ah, nice. Yes, that's true. So she do option number three.
She would, I'm a married man, so I'm realistic. I know she'd change the rules.
Yeah, she absolutely.
So,
And her rules are the
yes.
right rules. So,
Yes, exactly. Exactly. If you're married, you know what I mean.
oh, everybody does. They're like, oh, yeah, yeah. The rules are you do whatever I feel like it. So
Hmm.
awesome. Well, let's start here. When you think of how you maximize your energy in time, you have a great platform with calendar.com, but what have you done to be able to maximize how much energy you can put into your time?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to maximize your time is to plan your time out. So I have my time planned out. Like even pickleball. Like I have my calendar. If you're looking at my calendar, I have everything booked out. I have like pickleball, I have like workout, I have all the meetings, I have work time, I have like I even go as far as I don't do meetings on Friday. So I put a meeting every Friday to block it out, to visually show myself that nobody is booking time on that because it's already booked. And I want to prioritize my time for the weekend. But even like time with my wife, date nights, gymnastics for the kids, random things we have going on. If we're going out of town, I mark it off very, very early and block off every single one of the days, and then I try and prioritize restaurants and look ahead of time and book those out like, hey, here's where we're going to go. Here's a rough plan. I know it doesn't always work that way, but I try and prioritize my time, or my time will be prioritized for myself.
I love the proactivity behind that because when you say this is where I'm going to focus, this is the time blocks that I'm making for myself, and here's the time that I'm not going to let somebody else dictate what I'm doing, like you do on Fridays. That is you being very intentional with what it is that you want to create. Whereas a
Yeah.
lot of times I fell into this as like a student. I let my classes dictate what I was doing. I let my peers dictate what places we were going. I often let them even dictate where we ate. And that is completely reactive. So, how did you discover this proactive way to approach
Yeah.
your life?
By the way, I also want to, a lot of people just talk about this. I'll share with you, like, I even have like workout and cold plunge, like what I'm going to do. I have Wednesday pickleball. I have Monday pickleball. I have Tuesday workout. I have an afternoon workout with like friends. And like on Friday, I have like no meeting Fridays. Oh, look, somebody tried scheduling a meeting. Nope. I'm a maybe on it because I don't know. Like I want to like I practice what I preach. So like I'm saying like, hey, like actually do this. Block times out. People will prioritize your time if you don't prioritize it. So
Mm, that's
okay,
huge.
sorry. What was your other question that you did? I just wanted to show people
No, I
like,
love
hey,
that because
like
you are implementing exactly what you're preaching. You're like,
yeah.
actually do what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Do it.
Huge.
Like it helps. It's also like mentally, I can look at my day and plan for it and plan for my week. I think people, when they're thinking about their time, they know what they need to do, but it's a visual representation of what they physically need to do the next day. And when you're like, oh, I'm gonna work on this, like you'll even see on there, like I have like yesterday, I had 3 time periods blocked out for, hey, here's client work. I need to do this. Here's response to an email that I need to do. Here's, I needed to get a presentation done. I blocked off time on my calendar to do those things because I knew they were important to my future self.
Yeah. And one of the things that's really impactful here, I've been doing this with my wife for about a month. I mean, you've probably been doing it for years, maybe even decades. I I realized when I was a missionary, I was extremely faithful in the way that I planned. I had every half an hour planned, I had backup plans, and I knew what I was doing at any given point. And then as an entrepreneur, the last 2 years where I wasn't forced to go, hey, 9 to 5, you have to do it at this exact time, I could kind of let things be a little more fluid. And because of that, often, man, my time was so fluid that it was very difficult to get anything done because oh yeah, I can go do that. But then it ruins the flow of all the rest of the things I had planned for that day. So,
Yeah.
like for instance, my podcast, I always do them on Thursday mornings. I do my best to have two right back to back. You stack
Yep.
that, and then I can be intentional with it. I can say, this is
Yeah.
when I'm doing it, period. Like there's nothing else that can get on my calendar. And
Yep.
uh, when you make that intention, it's kind of like you're saying, I have not only hope that this will get done, like that's a task list. I have faith that I will get it done. And that's the action of saying, I'm going to put it on my calendar. Here's the block. Here's how I'm going to do it. So, one of the ways that I think is interesting that we can talk about this is when you see a different activity on your calendar and it's a drastically different energy than the previous activity, what do you do to like flip the switch and say, now I'm going from pickleball to I have this real estate deal that I need to finish, and then go from there to now I'm going to go hang out with a friend for a half an hour. What do you do to shift that energy to make sure that it's appropriate for the action?
Yeah, I compartmentalize very, very well. It's a skill that I have learned for years and years and years and read like countless books on self-help, this, that, all of these different things. But I've learned to compartmentalize very, very well. I don't know where I learned it. Um, but I never even realized how compartmentalizing I was until 2 situations happened. One, me and my wife had first been married, and I hired my wife. And I was like, hey, and it wasn't even hire, it was like sweat labor. Like it was a labor of love. She got paid nothing, right? But I would be like, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I would get home and she would just be grumpier than anything else. And she'd be like, you were mad at me at work today. And I was like, what are you talking about? That was at work. Like, we're not at work. Like just get over it. Like, we're not at work. This isn't even that. And I didn't realize that I have a switch that I flip off. Like, it's literally an on and off switch where I'm at work and I'm off work. I go into work mode and then I'm not in work mode. And I'm very, very good at switching those off. Another example is um, my mother has also worked for me for a very, very long time.
Mhm.
And she does work and this and that. And I had somebody bring up to me. Now, we had worked together for probably 6 years. And somebody came into the office and that knew me from outside, and they were like talking, and I addressed my mother, and they like looked at me and they're like, hey, is everything okay? Like, are you mad? I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, you said this. And I did not realize that I call her Deanna at work and mom when I'm not at work, or Grammy when I'm not at work. I had not even like my mental like they were the same thing. Like I just gone from one to another and I don't really realize that I have compartmentalized so well that it just doesn't even flip. So learn to compartmentalize your life and compartmentalize friendships from spouse, from work, from kids.
Hmm.
And those are different relationships and they need to be treated all with different cares and priorities.
That's a great insight, and it's something that I think I definitely need to work on. But being able to compartmentalize and say, this is how we're functioning in this specific action. That, like, we are doing a business meeting versus we're going to go have fun and goof off playing pickleball. Like, or
Yeah,
even like sometimes even playing pickleball when we're doing a recreational event versus this is going to be a duper event. This is going to actually count. We are there's literally a slight shift in your competitiveness. I know for
for
me, I'm
sure.
like, I don't let people win
No,
when it counts on my duper. I might let some kids that are a little smaller that are playing with us get a couple points that I wouldn't on a recreational game so that they get some
I
confidence. But there's
wouldn't.
no way that'll happen in a duper game. No way.
True, true. I mean,
So
again, in life, you got to just learn to compartmentalize your life. You know, as we're speaking business mastery, life mastery, time mastery, all these different things. If you can't be the master of yourself, you're going to fail in relationships and in certain aspects of life. And when I have a very difficult day, one where I'm down on my knees and I want to just cry and give up and just walk away, I still got to go home and realize that I got three little characters and a wife that are relying on me. And one, I let those emotions show a little bit. Like I'm not perfect. I'm not this. Like my kids, I let them know if I'm having a bad day, but I don't let it impact my relationship with them. And I try and not bring negative things home. When you're having a bad day at work, when you're having a fight with your spouse, like it's good to let your kids know that things are happening. I like letting them know, especially as they get old. My 8-year old, usually about 5 years old, I started being like, hey, I did not have a good day. I had a really hard day, and here's the reason why. And sometimes they'll give you a hug. My 3-year old doesn't understand, and my 1-year old, like he just understands that dad's a little shorter with him and not. So learn to compartmentalize those things, or they'll start dictating other people in your life and your other surroundings around you as well.
that that's definitely spoken from experience. So thank you for sharing that. I feel like when we're talking about how to master your energy, you have to master your mindset and your choices. I had a friend and mentor that taught me for years. Her name is Marilee Webb. I've had her on the podcast once, but she talked about flipping the switch. There are times and seasons for everything in life. There's times to be fun and to be playful. There's times to be very serious. And there's times to make sure that stuff gets done. And when you arrive, she gave this example. When you arrive at our rehearsals, whatever's going on, she's like, I'll give you a moment. You got 1 to 5 seconds to let all of those frustrations fall at the door. You flip the switch, and then you can have a brand new experience for this next hour, hour and a half. And I think that's part of what this compartmentalization idea is whatever the previous activity was, you can make a transition. And life is lived in those transitions often. And if we let a bad hour dictate that we have a bad day, we're only hurting ourselves. But if we have a bad hour, we can say, all right, that activity's done. Let it fall, flip that switch and do the next activity. And then you can have more success with it. So
Yeah.
in your experience, John, when you've had massive challenges in business, because I mean, you've never had any challenges in business, right? There's,
No,
oh, no.
never,
It's
never,
super
never.
easy all the time. Just money just flows in. When you have challenges, what have you done to be able to keep that mindset clear to say, this is the energy that this action or this idea needs right now. This is how we get to that next level. This is how we focus in to make sure that whatever the challenge was, it can be solved. And here's the way, not just to slum in the frustration, but to get through it. Let's go there.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I'll point out one person that I've liked some of the ways he handles business and some maybe his life not, but Jack Ma, Alibaba founder, has this quote that he always says when tackling problems, and he says, "If there's 9 rabbits in all these holes, how do you catch one? You focus on one at a time." Right? And that's how he tackles problems at Alibaba, is he tackles one problem at a time. And in my life, you can't tackle 50 things at once. Tackle the most important thing out there and complete it, and then move on to the next, then the next, then the next. Now, in the business world, sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you have to do this. But in the business world, I like being the best of the best at one thing, a master of one, not of everything, because you'll never be the master of everything, but you can be the master of one thing. Become the best of the best at one thing. Now, I found in my life, I've become the best of the best at 1 or 2 things. Spent whatever they say, 10,000 hours. I've spent far more than that doing what I do. And then people pay me a lot of money to do that. So it's been a very successful in my life. And I find a lot of people don't do those things in life to make them the best, and they're trying to be everything to everyone. And ultimately in the world, in productivity, in mastering, in business, those people end up not progressing as far as they could have had they become the best of something.
And it goes back to your choice. What do you choose to become the best in? Because talent only gets you so far. You have talent, and then your talent will eventually be like, okay, this is the end of my talent. Now it comes into skills
Yeah,
development. You
correct.
have to decide and then do something with it. And anything in business,
Yeah.
all of us have those.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, "Oh my word, follow something that you enjoy and do this." And honestly, I feel people that say that are very, very well off, and they have found their joy along the path. I usually say find something that you can semi put up with and enjoy, and those tedious hours you can put up with, and then grind at it and become the best of the best and charge as much money as you can for it. Now, it needs to be something that you can actually make a living at. I like making money, capitalist in that form. And I want other people to make a lot of money, right? But in order to make money, you need to semi enjoy what you're doing. You're not going to enjoy it all the time. And there's going to be times where you love it more than anything else, but you need to semi enjoy it and semi be good at it. If you're semi good at something and you semi enjoy it and it makes a lot of money, or potentially could make a lot of money, that's something I find worth grinding and working very, very hard at.
Yeah, because you're in the right vehicle, right? You've got a vehicle that can take you to where you
For
want to
sure.
go. And uh, the difference between like just what you brought up of choosing all these different things, it's kind of like if you're driving down the street and you're like, hey, that's the destination I want to get to. I want to get to Sacramento. And you get in the car like, well, actually, I could get in a different car. And you pause, you get out, you
Mhm.
buy another car, and then you start going like, wait a second, go 2 or 3 miles down the road. I actually want a different car. And you get out and you get a different vehicle. That's the idea of which choice actually matters. It doesn't matter. You choose the one that will help you get to where you want to go, that you semi enjoy, that you can make money at, and then stay in the car, stay in the vehicle,
Yeah,
and stay in it long enough and do it hard enough, long enough. You develop yourself long enough that you will arrive at your destination. You just make those little course corrections until you arrive. So how
for
did
sure. I mean,
you come?
that's partially, by the way, why I still recommend college for people.
Yeah.
College, sometimes it's figuring out what vehicle and what car and what you enjoy and not being forced into a job. I think a lot of millennials and younger have written off college, and written off college in the aspect of, one, I'm not going to learn anything. You are right. You won't learn much in college. You're not going to learn really, and don't beat me up, college professor, professor this or that. Like, don't beat me up for this, because you will learn, but mentally you're not going to learn, because you're going to be thinking other things. Your brain's going to work. My college experience, I didn't learn anything. But what I did learn that was a very, very important is, one out of the 60 classes I took, I really resonated with.
Mm.
So then I took another class and then another class, and I found out, hey, I'm really good at this. And guess what? People in that class who were doing very well and excelling, not even trying, those people became my tribe, and people who I am still friends with today. And I have some of the longest bonds, and I can go a year without seeing the person. We pick up exactly where we left off. Those are people because we have the same mentality. We like the same thing. We gravitate to the same thing. I want to talk on the college thing. This isn't supposed to be that, but one additional thing about college and why I like college is, when you're young and sometimes you don't have the option to start your own thing, you need to work for somebody else. And especially, we're finding right now, it's hard to get a job. We're in 2024, right this minute. People are struggling out there. And I feel a lot of these people without degrees, they're being automatically filtered out by all these different things. They're not even getting an interview. If you get the interview, I don't care if you want go to college or didn't go to college, you're going to wow them, right? But some of you will not get that interview because you don't have a college degree. And it's sad, but it's true. You're not getting the interview. If you can get the interview, or work your way into that, or just show up, you'll wow them. You'll get the job, right? But you're not getting the interview because you don't have that stupid little check mark.
Sometimes those qualifications keep us out of our future. But one of the things that I'm eternally grateful for college was it gave you a safe environment to fail really hard and to make mistakes. I was at the gym today, and this lady had a picture of little Happy Trees guy. I just spaced his name. I want to say Richard Simmons, and that's not it. What's his name? With the big hair, Anyway, always drawing the pictures. It'll come to me in a second. But he said, "Oh man, we made a mistake. How about we just turn that mistake into birds? Yeah, these are birds now." And you think about
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross. There you go.
Yeah,
way better than Richard Simmons. Different Afro guy. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, whenever we make a mistake, just turn into a bird, right? We not that type of bird. I'm talking about, something that's positive. But one of the things
mistakes are okay to make.
Yeah.
They are. Those listening to this right now, mistakes are okay to make. You're going to make them every single day. And I think our society right now is bullying people into not making mistakes, into not talking about their mistakes. And in turn, they're not learning from their mistakes, and they're making smaller, not as big, but mistakes. In business, you're going to make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. You're going to fail better. You're going to make a mistake, make a better, less mistake, do a better job, keep failing, fail again, fail better, fail better. I think people don't really realize that it's okay to fail. Like me being a parent, dude, I freaking fail every single day. I'm learning how to do this along the way. I always looked up to some of these people. Oh, they're the perfect parents. And then I see down the road, and I talk with them, and now I'm at where they're at. And I'm like, man, they made so many mistakes along the way. But you know what? The things that they're doing after the mistake is what defines them.
Yeah, that's huge. One of the things I discovered as a professional actor for the time that I was when you make big choices, you can have great feedback. Sometimes your choices are off the wall, and the director will be like, okay, that was a choice. make a different choice.
Yeah.
If you're in film, you take one, bam, you do a choice and you do something with it, and you're like, well, that was one way to do it. And then you're like, let's take two, take three, take four, until you figure out what were those discoveries that were made during those mistakes that helped you carve out those those choices that will be the most impactful. Sometimes you don't even know the breadth of that choice until you go there. You have to all the way go there before you can discover whether or not you need to bring it back. I love that in business. Sometimes we have to pass that line a little bit. We have to cross that line into mistake land and figure out, oh, I need to back up and rethink this. I need to change my standard operating procedures here. I need to clarify my communication. So I want to hear, John, what was one of the biggest learning opportunities, not necessarily mistakes, but one of the biggest learning opportunities that you've had in business?
Repeat what one more time?
Yeah, what was one of the biggest mistakes or learning opportunities, right? A faithful attempt in learning, right? A failure that you've had that you've been able to overcome that's been instructive for you.
Ooh, name the day. I fail literally every single day. So, um, probably one of my biggest failures, um, was really a success in my, no, I'm just joking. One of my biggest failures, um, was I acquired a company. This was in 2012, I think, 2011. And I had this company and I had just come off a success. I just sold a company. I thought I was hot shit. And I uh I thought I couldn't fail. And I majorly failed. And to the point where, it wasn't my fault, but it was all my fault. As a CEO, everything is your fault, whether it's your fault or not. It was totally somebody else had falsified documents, done this, done that, stolen money, that, but it's my fault. Like I didn't catch it. I didn't do this. I wasn't prepped. I took too many risks. I did this. And I remember being in a room with people who had been busting their butt for me for months, underpaid, all like 10 to $15 an hour employees who had families, who had this. And I laid off 77 people in one day.
Oh.
And um like one of my most humbling moments in my life. And I couldn't even pay him. Like I had no money. So I gave all of them 9.5 days severance. That's all I could do. And I maxed out every credit card I had. Um, literally, and the only place that would allow me to get that much off a credit card was a casino. So I drove to Vegas and went to 3 casinos and maxed out my credit cards, all of them. I drove back. I was living in Riverside at the time, or as I like to refer to it as the River Hood. And I
Yeah.
gave them all cash in envelopes and laid off all 77 people. And that was a failure in my life. And again, had nothing to do with me and everything to do with me. And by the way, this was 3 months into my marriage. I'd been married for 3 months to my wife and had a failed business. I was now about $880,000 in credit card debt with like 22 to 24% interest rate. I went in, I was renting an apartment. I went into my landlord and I was like, hey, I can't pay next month. You have a deposit. And I'm out. And they're like, well, we're going to attack your credit. And I was like, do your worst. Like, I can't go for it. Like, it can't get too much lower. I went to my landlord of 3 buildings that we were renting at the time. And I was like, hey, I'm out. I've moved everything out. I paid all my dues. You have a deposit. You have 3 days left. I'm not paying rent on the first. I have no money. And I got in a moving truck and I moved out of there that afternoon. And I remember I was driving up and I needed to fill up gas and I didn't have money on my credit card enough to fill up the gas tank. And I sat and had to beg for money. It took me an hour and 10 minutes to get $54 to fill up, which $54 in that time was great. Like I was doing awesome, right? But I think a couple people could see I was in need. During that time, like you have nobody to blame but yourself during this. And I went to some really, really low moments during those times. You know, I'm like, as a husband, I'm like, failure, right? Complete failure. But those people that I laid off, like a lot of them, I don't know what happened to all of them. They were mad at me and they don't know the backstory. They don't know that, you know, it ended in a big lawsuit, that somebody had falsified things, somebody had stolen money, somebody had done this. Like out of this, somebody went to freaking jail for 3 years. Like it was a pretty bad deal. They didn't know any of that. And I promised myself in business that would never happen again. I'd never put myself in a situation where I hurt somebody so much. And I think as business owners, that was a pivotal moment in my brain and my thinking of being like, hey, I'm not going to let this happen again. And speaking about motivation for you and your future self, like when I have that behind me, I don't want that ever. I don't ever want to go to that dark place that I was in for the months leading up to that, the day of, and the months after that. So if we're talking about, you know, hard times, struggles, failures, like after that, I had some success. I learned because I had a skill that people were willing to pay for. I left there and a year and a half later, I was 100% out of that, all that credit card debt, and I had a $500,000 in my bank account. That was like a year and a half later. Like I have skills that people are willing to pay astronomical amounts of money for. And you need to develop those skills as a business owner. And that's what business is about, is being better than somebody else or developing a product that nobody else has, that you're better at, that people want, or that widget or that service or whatever it is that people are willing to pay a lot of money for. Try and not race to the bottom, race to the top. And I had that skill, so I was able to do that. But those people that I laid off did not have those skills. And that's hard for me. And I still struggle with it today. And they're all amazing humans. Don't let one failure dictate the rest of your life. I see a lot of people, and no, he won't listen to this, but my business partner who was in that, he has let that dictate the last 20 years or the last 10 years or 12 years of his life. And he's still in debt. He still struggles with life. And he still is like, looks at himself as a semi-failure. So if you fail, get the hell back up and become the best at something. Hopefully you enjoy it. Some of the time at least. Hopefully you're good at it. Don't try and, if you're not good at something, don't keep going, right? But I semi-enjoyed it and I was pretty good at it. And I know during the hard moments and those hard times when you're doing this and you're grinding and you're go, 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 and you're in these meetings endlessly and you're in these client things where you're only as good as last month, those things will help push you through. The failures will push you through because you don't want to be where you were.
Yeah, we're not working this hard to stay the same.
No.
You know, I think all of us at times will go through our own version of hell. And it's what we do after that has hit rock bottom in our life, whatever our rock bottom looks like. It's what we do
Yeah.
after that event has happened that will dictate the rest of our life. Sometimes we're in
Yeah.
it and we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but there is something that we were put on this earth for. We are here to prepare ourselves to meet God. And if we go at it for the next 20 years and think, oh, I went through this hell, and you let that hell live for the next 20 years, why not flip that switch like you said? You said a year and a half, you're able to totally transform yourself because you focused in on the things that you were good at, and you focus on the skills. You have a very particular set of skills, right?
Yes.
Uh, as far as skills
Yeah,
development,
and kind of speaking on the heaven and hell
yeah.
in business, failure in that can sometimes just be a little bit of a tweak.
Mhm.
I had a really good explanation of heaven and hell to me, not to get like spiritual or
Yeah.
talk that, but I had one of the best explanations of heaven, hell, this from a medium. So I'm part of a grief and loss. I help people with grief and loss. I'm part of an organization called Open to Hope. We help people with hope after a loss. And we attend lots of conferences and we record videos on how to find hope after a loss. So if you guys have, lost somebody in your life or need a little bit of hope, lean on ours. We can help you out a little bit. Same in the business world, lean on other people's hope so you can find your own. But this medium person, people, essentially, and legitimate, like there are people in this world with gifts beyond like comprehension. And she said that she had a daughter, and her daughter would have not nightmares, but see like dead people as well.
Mhm.
She saw the beautiful things in life. Her daughter saw the horrible things in life. And she said that got her thinking about God and heaven, hell, and other things. And she says, I think of it, you know how dogs can hear other frequencies?
Mhm.
She's like, I think of heaven and hell like a little bit of a frequency. Like you just adjust a frequency. I can't see it or hear it or anything, but a different frequency, it's still there. It's here. It's all around us. And heaven and hell and seeing and speaking to dead people or seeing ghosts or this might just be a frequency that we're attuned to.
Mhm.
And sometimes in the business world, sometimes we can adjust that frequency a little bit. Heaven and hell, we can adjust in the business. And I think we actually have our own dial where we can understand. And sometimes we just have to flip because we're living in hell and we just need to adjust our frequency a little bit. Now we can't, be like, oh, let's check out hell. Let's check out heaven, from a spiritual standpoint. We don't have those abilities, but we do in the business world. And we do in the business world, I think we're attuned to a little bit of both. And we can see, feel, and hear, you know, different things. We can talk to successful people. We can feel their energy, but we can also feel energy on the good and the bad side. So start choosing the good side and elevating yourself with podcasts, with books, with music, with people, and surround yourself with those things. And I've found that those different things build me up in the business world and help me become a better person and a better business owner and a better leader, a better friend, a better husband, and a better, dad by elevating those things, even if I'm not necessarily prepared for them.
I love that. And that's really tuning into the right type of information. You know,
Yeah.
I love this idea of frequency because I'm preparing a lesson for Sunday to teach my my Sunday school class, and one of those
I'm so
is
sorry.
about deception. He said, "So sorry, sorry for those kids, no, but
Yeah.
about deception." And there's this person, Korihor, from the Book of Mormon, who actively tried to destroy people's testimonies. Who do we surround ourselves that are actively trying to help us gain faith in business versus who are those that are actively trying to destroy our business? the people we surround ourselves with and who we tune into, the things that we are ingesting as far as through our eyes, what we're reading, our ears, what we're listening to, and even what we're eating at times, like those things all affect who we become because we are taking them in and we get to process those things. So for
Yeah.
you, what
Well,
could we
here's one for your lesson as well.
love it? Go ahead.
When you're praying, there's always two people on the line, but you know which one answers you.
Mm,
People don't think of that from a spiritual, that, yeah, God's on the phone, but Satan's also on the phone.
mm. Two people
I've
on the
never
line.
even
Yeah.
thought of that till it wasn't that long ago. Somebody brought that up, and I'm like, oh, you're freaking right, man. But you know which one's the right one to listen to. So, oh, well, just keep that in mind as well in the business world, that there's usually two people on the line, and there's some people out there trying to build you up, and there's some people out there trying to destroy you. In the business world, everybody was rooting for me until I became successful. And I'm not joking. Every person out there was rooting for me, when I was, sleeping in the garage, or when I was, sleeping in my car. Everybody out there, hell yeah, go for it, John. You can do this. Like when I was $800,000 in credit card debt. Yeah, you can do this, John. You're amazing. You're great. But those same people now, I don't find rooting for me. And as a business owner, you need to figure out and surround yourself with those people that are cheering you on, but also know that some people are meant to be in your life for a day. Some people are meant to be there for a week, others years, and others decades, and others a lifetime.
Mm.
And you need to be willing to drop friends and relationships that aren't there for the long haul. God might have honestly just put them in your life for a couple years to cheer you when you were down because you really needed that. But they might not be there in your life for the future. And that's been one hard one for me to swallow lately, because I've had to dump a few of my best friends because I am in a place where, one, I don't need them anymore. Two, I can't have them anymore because I'm going to a place where they can't go,
Mm.
and I can't drag them along, and they're holding me down.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like the way that a ship has anchors. If you have people that are anchoring you and keeping you in harbor when you need to go to Bermuda or whatever it is, wherever your destination is, sometimes you actually have to cut ties with that anchor if they're holding you back. And then other times you have people that are like the wind into your sails, and they help encourage you, uplift you, build you up, and they're there along the side, and maybe they're even on the ship with you saying, let's do this. And those type of people you want to stay close. But my guess is as you are leveling up your relationships, there are people that will drop off. They'll get off the ship because they don't want to go to the same destination. And that's okay. Like sometimes, like you said, people are there for a day, for a week, for a month, for a year. And sometimes you have great relationships with people that you never want to get rid of because they inspire you. They make you want to be better, do better, live a life that's more inspirational, connect you closer to God. And those are the types of relationships. I think that's one of the reasons why I connected so well with you. We come from the same religion. We have a fevered desire to help our family be successful, and we want to make sure that our kids see us as the very best versions of ourselves. And we're not okay with just being the same tomorrow as we are today. That constant pursuit of progress. I think that's something I love about you, and you're always pushing that envelope of how do I be a little better tomorrow? And I think it's inspirational. So thank you for being on the podcast. Any final thoughts or any words of encouragement that you're like, man, this is something that I'd love to leave you with. Any final thoughts?
Ooh, final thoughts. All of this is important, but if you don't know where you're headed, a lot of it doesn't matter. So try and figure out where you're going and where you want to be. Write down a map, wherever it is, and then choose a path. Choose who you want to be, what you want to be, where you want to be, and start going for it today. Like, you might not get there and you might change directions along the way if you decide, but your calendar, your schedule, your business, your all that, none of it matters if you don't know where you're going.
Love that.
So figure that out and then apply what we said on this podcast. And, you're already taking steps in your journey. So just keep pushing where you want to be and where you want to go, and you'll get there.
I love it. It's just like, it reminds me of
Brigham and I, we're proud of you.
We are.
And we love you. So
love you. And when you guys are ready to play some competitive pickleball, we will face you. John's been my partner for a long time. So I love you, man. I can't wait to get on the court again with you. And thank you for opening your heart and sharing some heartbeats with us. And man, leveling up my mindset, my skill set, tool set. Really appreciate you. You are the man. So guys, you got to follow John, find him on social media, connect with him. Peace out. Appreciate you guys, and God bless.